TobeyG and JD Show. It's TobeyG doing the show alone again. JD just abandoned me. He's got so much work coming in. I want to thank all you followers for taking advantage of JD's expertise, and while he fixes your computer off, without having to bring it into the shop. I think that's terrific for you to have I feel that you trust him that much, and you should. He does a great job. To start this off, I just came across this. This is very interesting. This is just a thought, okay? This is about Robert E. Lee that I didn't know about, and I read about, and most people probably don't know this. I'm going to read this. It might take me a couple seconds. Robert E. Lee was married to George Washington's granddaughter. He worked with Grant during the Mexican-American War and became a decorated war hero, defending this country. He believed slavery was a great evil, and his wife broke the law by teaching slaves to read and write. After the Civil War, he worked with Andrew Jackson's program of Reconstruction. He became very popular with the northern states, and the barracks at West Point were named in his honor in 1962. He was a man of great honor who served this country his entire life in some form or other. His memorial is now being called a blight. No American military veteran should be treated as such. People keep yelling, "You can't change history." Sadly, you can. This is no better than book burnings. ISIS tried rewriting history by destroying historical artifacts. Is that really who we want to emulate? As they tear down this blight, keep these few historical facts in your mind. No military veteran and highly decorated war hero should ever be treated as such. This is not Iraq, and that is not a statue of Saddam. In addition, Lee was also very torn about the prospect of the South leaving the Union. His wife's grandfather, George Washington, was a huge influence on him. He believed that ultimately states' rights trumped the federal government and chose to lead the Southern Army. His estate, Arlington, near Washington, D.C., was his home, and while away fighting the war, the federal government demanded that Lee himself pay his taxes in person. He sent his wife, but the money was not accepted from a woman. When he could not pay the taxes, the government began burying dead Union soldiers on his land. The government is still burying people there. It is now called Arlington National Cemetery. Do they want to tear that up as well? Now, that was an interesting story. They're taking down his statues, and he was trying to protect slaves and helping them. This is, people do things without thinking and finding out what the history of things really are, and all they do is talk over you because they don't have the facts. It's a shame where this country is going, and it's awful. But let's change that subject. Another interesting thing happened this week. You know how we talk about if you can't touch it, you don't own it, with gold, silver, your house, your car, and so forth. But let's start with gold. I talked about this several podcasts ago where I said that is there really gold in Fort Knox? Well, come to find out, the new Treasury Secretary under President Donald Trump made a visit to Fort Knox, along with, I believe his wife was there as well, and a couple of congressmen. And it's the first time since the 70s that the doors of Fort Knox were open. And he took a look, and apparently what looked like the gold is in Fort Knox. Now, I got this information from Jim Ricketts. He is an advisor on gold and silver and finance. He has advised several presidents. He's been in front of Congress and so forth. This was on his website. And he went on to say that he thinks that they wanted to see if the gold was there themselves, because he feels as though Donald Trump, now this is not fact, this is not fake news, this is just his opinion, and I'm just relating what his opinion is. He feels as though if you take all the gold that the United States has and you back the dollar by it, gold will go to $10,000 an ounce. Now, if they keep gold at between $9,950 and $10,050 an ounce as the price, and the money stays back, you'll be stabilize our economy and be able to gradually dig out of debt. And that's what their plan is, to save the country financially, because we owe trillions and trillions of dollars that are funded and trillions that are unfunded. That includes, Medicare and so forth and so on, where this country is in deep doo-doo, so to speak. So I just thought that was interesting where we've been talking about it. Another thing that we've been talking about as far as finance goes, and that is, if you can't touch it, you don't own it. And that goes for your car, and that goes for your mortgage. If you have a mortgage, you should, you don't own your house. I mean, you can't touch the deed. Now, if you have enough money in your savings, that would be great if you could pay off your mortgage. A lot of people don't, because they think of the tax deduction, and they leave that money in the bank, or have it in the stock market, which adds a little risk to the money that they have out there. But there's a theory, and they worked out the numbers, that if you had, hypothetically, if you owed $200,000 on your house, and you had $200,000 in the bank. In the bank, you're probably making about 0.4 or 0.5%. And your mortgage is probably 4.25%, 4.5%, 4.75%, somewhere in that range. So if because you're in the same tax bracket, if you're in a tax bracket that 35%, you take the tax that you would be not saving anymore, which comes to about 1.5%. So actually, you'd be ahead of the game by about 2% by paying off your mortgage. But it goes further than that. I feel as though there's no better feeling to own your house free and clear. It trumps the interest that you'd be getting out of the bank, which naturally you'd be negative in that particular case I just talked about. But it's the greatest feeling in the world not to have a mortgage on your house, to own it free and clear, and then go from there. And another thing that I believe in is you take an equity loan on your house, not to be used just in case of an emergency, have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. You get the checks, you get an equity loan that probably goes for 10 years. You don't have to pay anything for it. There's no charges, finance charges, unless you borrow against it. And if you need to buy a new car or an emergency comes up, you take it out of there and you pay that back. It's a low percentage rate. It's usually 3 or 4% at the percentage rates that they are now. And it's a great way to have a fund, an emergency fund. But it's not there to be used unless you have to and you don't have the funds somewhere else. It's just a backup. And it's something that everybody should consider doing. And the other thing is, I still say you need to go buy gold or silver every single day. Every day, every month. Allocate so much money. And, for a lot of listeners, they don't have $1,000 a month to buy gold, so buy some silver. Silver's, you'll probably pay $3 or $4 premium over the spot of silver. Go to your local coin store. Buy it. At today's prices with the surcharge, you'd probably pay $20, $21 an ounce. You buy 4 or 5 coins a month. If you can buy more, that's wonderful. Bring them home. Don't put them in a safe deposit box. Don't tell anybody you have them. Bring them home. Last time I've told you the last 2 podcasts. Place to you can go to myangelscloud.com and click on the financial page, and it's a video from YouTube showing you how to make a false draw in your house. You can put it in. You have multiple drawers. It shows you how to do it, And you can hide gold, silver, diamonds, cash, anything you want. But that's definitely a place that you go take a look. But you need to keep your valuables hidden. You need to be able to touch them, because if you can't touch them, you don't own them. Just remember that. You can't touch them, you don't own them. And, that's the same thing with your car. I mean, you're paying a higher interest rate on your car. Get the thing paid off, for crying out loud. And you don't need a new car today. I mean, these cars last a long time. Which brings me to a story. 1998, I think it was, 1998, I needed a new car. I needed a car bad. And I went to a BMW dealership. And the car, I looked at, it was a demo. It had 4,000 miles on it. And it was a 328i, 1998. And the price, I had looked before I went, they were like $36,000. I didn't want to pay $36,000. So that's why I was looking at a demo. But they didn't usually they didn't move their prices very much. Well, I went in there with a friend of mine, and I tried the car out, and I liked it. And the guy says, I says, how much you want for it? He says, what do you give me? I didn't know. That's a tough one when you don't want to offer too little, you don't want to offer too much. So I offered him $25,000. Came back 20 minutes later. He took it. Half hour later, I drove the car off the lot. But the real story to this is, I had that car until 2009. I put 224,000 miles on that car. I only had to change the tires, the brakes, and I had to replace the radiator once. I sold that car and bought another car, and I wish I kept it, because that car was, I bet you that car would still be going today. That car gave me a lot of pleasure, and it didn't cost me anything. I put 224,000 miles on that. So you don't need a car every year, or every 3 years, or every 4 years. Get your money's worth out of the car, and make it work for you. The car that I'm driving now is a 2014. I think it is. 2014, and I'm going to keep it. I got 134,000 miles on it, and I'm going to keep it as long as I can. It runs fine. Why should I get rid of it? And then I'll get something else. I'll buy a used car. I won't buy a brand new. I'll try to get something with under 15,000 miles on it, a couple of 3 years old. And that's the best way to buy cars today, instead of buying them brand new. Just get a certified car, and you'll be way ahead of the game. But that's just a thought, as an experience that I went through, and it saves me a lot of money. Let's see what's else. This is a tidbit. A lot of people don't know this, and I'm sure some of you do. In 1930, actually it was in January 22nd, 1930, a building in New York City, they broke ground to build, and they finished it in April 1931. It's called the Empire State Building. It took 1 year and 45 days to build. They built 4.5 floors per week. And that's 103 floors, 1,250 feet to the top floor. That doesn't even count the other 200 feet of antennas. Now you look at this. It took 1 year and 45 days to build the Empire State Building. With all the technology we have today and all the equipment, we can't do that again because of all the regulations. You've got the unions that are slowing down work. You can't buy from this guy. We can't get this. We can't get that. But back in the 1930, they built the Empire State Building in 1 year and 45 days. That says a lot for the United States of America. They can, when you get the regulations and the idiots out of the way, the Americans can get things done. I just think that was an incredible feat, and I just wanted to bring that up today. And let's see, another thing that made me crazy. It doesn't take much to make me crazy. Maybe I'm already crazy. I was reading another article, and with all this stuff that everybody's a racist and all this. Well, now all of these idiots are calling Cracker Barrel racist. And you ask yourself, why would they call Cracker Barrel racist? Well, they call it racist because they have rocking chairs on their front porches. Yeah, you walk in there, they have rocking chairs, and you walk in, and they have they have a theme of all the old shelves and products and so forth, and they say it's racist because it brings you back to the South, of the rocking chair, of the people sitting on the porch, and the blacks, and this and that. That's how crazy people have gotten. This is totally, totally out of control, and it's way out of whack. Way out of whack, and it has to be brought back into control. And I'm hoping that it is, but I think it's gone so far. There's going to be, I think we're on the cusp of having a revolution or a civil war of some sort. And I can see it coming down the road. And I pray that we don't, but I conceivably can see it happening. I'm just hoping that parents are warning their kids that are going to school to not be protesting. Protesting is one thing, but rioting is another. And any kid that gets involved in that, the college should expel them, and their parents should pull their funding and pull them out of there because they're not learning a damn thing. You know, what are they learning when they're listening to these professors telling them that they're racist and white people are no good and so forth and so on. I mentioned this a couple of podcasts ago. There was this article. There was a Spanish guy. He says, I'm Spanish and I'm not racist. Then there was a black guy. I'm African American and I'm not racist. Then there was an Afghani. He says, I'm Afghani and I'm not racist. And then there was an Iraqi. I'm Iraqi and I'm not racist. There was a Native Indian. I'm Native Indian and I'm not racist. And then there was a white guy. He says, I'm white and I'm racist. Now, does that make sense? That is absolutely ridiculous. I think that everybody, their brains are fried. I mean, it's like opening an egg and putting it in a frying pan. I think that's what their brains look like. I mean, this is out of control, and it needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed. We need to fix it. And we need to get our heads out of the sand. We need to stop listening to the mainstream media. That includes Fox News, CNN, the worst. MSNBC, I give them credit because at least they say that they're left wing, and that's their opinion. So I give them a little more credit. But I take NBC, ABC, CBS. They are nothing but crap. And they used to be honorable station. They're not honorable anymore. And, the other thing is, which is on the news, you probably heard about this, about the ESPN moving the announcer for the Virginia game, as his name was Robert Lee. He's an Asian guy, and they didn't want him to broadcast it because his name was Lee. This is ridiculous. I mean, we need to stop boycotting Disney World. Disney owns ESPN. These people are the most racist going. They're calling other people racist. They're the racists. They're awful. This is really, really out of control. And you don't know it yet, but it's affecting you. It's affecting everybody. And it's going to get worse. I mean, look, you go into the inner city today. Let's take Philadelphia. They use this, and we need to raise taxes. So what did they do? They went and they put I don't know the exact figure, but they put a ridiculous tax amount per ounce on soda. And in the inner cities, they drink a lot of soda. So not only that people were angry and they stopped drinking soda, so naturally it put Pepsi, it put half their employees in that city out of work, Coca-Cola, and the other place, so it put people out of work, so that's less income from the city, that's less money that people that just lost their jobs are spending. But know what it created? People started buying alcohol and beer because there was no tax on that. So they went from soda, which was more expensive than the actual beer, and people are buying beer and hard liquor instead of the soda. Now, I just leave it to a politician to screw things up. They really know how to do it. And I don't care how much these politicians, I don't care what city they're from. I mean, Bloomberg, what he tried to do with the taxes and not allowing you to drink a big gulp for them to sell a big gulp soda to you and this and that. That's control. Right? Take your heads out of your butt. Get rid of these people. They want to control you. You should control your own life unless you're hurting somebody else and you're costing somebody else. Control your own life. Stop following. Don't be a sheep going to slaughter. Start making up your own mind. And let's see, what else is going on? We have a lot of things going on. President Trump is going to go down to Texas, and I hope he doesn't disrupt things when he goes down there. I hope he just goes in and goes out, because they have to put so many things in place for his security. I remember when George Bush flew over Katrina, they were upset about that, and he didn't go and land and greet the people, the rescuers and the workers and so forth, cleaning up after Katrina. But actually what he did was probably a favor, because of all the resources that would have been taken from saving people and doing good for people that needed it. He left them doing their job, which I think is commendable for President Bush at that time. And they said he was a failure. Well, he wasn't well, I guess he was a little bit on the Katrina, because the red tape to get anything released to help the people that had problems was very deep. But the biggest person that was the people that were mostly to blame for the problems they had for Katrina was the mayor, who was a black individual, and the governor. The governor didn't declare a state of an emergency when she was told to, and the mayor had 2,000 school buses that could have evacuated the city, and he didn't order the evacuation of those people with those school buses. They stayed in the lot and they got flooded, and that's why people got stranded, and they had gun confiscation, which was another problem, because the crooks were the only ones that had the guns. It was absolutely awful. It was a disaster, and the Democrats really screwed that up big time. I don't think it's going to happen this time, because they're giving the people on the ground, the mayors, the local Red Cross and so forth, the go-ahead to do what they have to do, and they're making the resources available to help the other rescuers on the ground available, hopefully without delay. But I'm sure they'll come up with some criticism. That's something that Trump didn't do, and they're probably blaming the whole hurricane on him. But it's a shame we have to go this way. But JD and myself, we really enjoy talking to you. Please subscribe to our podcast. Go to our Facebook fan page. It's TobeyG and JD Show fan page, and go to call 844-429-3579 for computers and websites done right. JD's got 20 years experience. He can remotely go into your computer and fix it. You're not dealing with anybody from India, Pakistan, or another foreign country. You're dealing with somebody that you listen to every week here at TobeyG and JD Show. And don't forget to go to myangelscloud.com, another one of our sponsors. And while you're there, click on the Big Berkey banner. Just look what happened in Texas. They're not going to need clean water. Have a Big Berkey. Don't get caught in that situation, no matter where you are, whether it be Louisiana or Massachusetts, Rhode Island, or California, or wherever. Things happen. Oklahoma with tornadoes. There are disruptions natural disruptions. There are man-made disruptions. You need water to survive. Start with a Big Berkey. It's the best one. They've been around for years. Go to myangelscloud.com and click on the banner. It'll take you right to their website, and I'm sure you'll be pleased. Until next time, this is TobeyG and JD saying, see you next time.